decant, not to decant, which wines, what does decanting do, are there any rules of thumb to remember, does it matter if you use a flashlight or a candle or whatever, is it all pure pageantry, or does it actually change the way wine tastes? I'm Natalie MacLean and I review thousands of wines every year, and I'm really embracing Facebook Live. I'm loving this, so do let me know if you've joined me. The technology tonight is being a bit challenging, and so I'm going to, it's so weird, you kind of, I'm watching for comments and that sort of thing live online and then trying to talk at the same time. Anyway, not to be confused. I'm glad you could join me, and please do, as you're joining us, just tell me where you're from, what your favorite wine is. Do you decant any wines? Does it make a difference for you? Do you find the whole thing about decanting wines kind of snobby? What is your view on all of that? And I'm just going to refresh my page right now so that I can see some comments as they come in and answer them in real time for you. So anyway, the whole thing about decanting, there's a bit of a debate over this right now. Okay, watching now. How do I join? Nicole Tracy Lewis. Oh, Nicole. Hey, Nicole from Ottawa. You're watching, so this whole broadcast will continue, and you have joined this Facebook Live, Nicole. And what you want to do is, there's a few things you can do. You can, right under this video, there's a button called share, and there's a little arrow. So if you click on that, you can let your friends know to join us over here right now, because we're having fun. We're having more fun once we start drinking the wine. You can click on like, which I think is right beside that button, or two over. That way, if you click on like, and then there's a green button follow that you only have to ever click once. If you do that, you'll always get the heads up that we are live on video. Okay, Nicole, and the only other thing is, but I know you're already a member of our community, you can click on the blue button, sign up, and that will get you notifications as well. So, wonderful, Nicole says. I'm so glad I can see your comments, and I'm so glad I'm not alone in this universe. Nicole, thank you. And Lynn has joined us from Halifax. She is drinking Massey Campi Fiorin. Whoa, nice choice, Lynn. Lynn, do you think that wine needs to be decanted? You let me know. Or maybe it's not going to get time to breathe at all tonight, depending on how thirsty you are. And Nicole, what's in your glass? Anybody else joining us? Tell me where you're from, what's in your glass. Have you decanted it? Are you too impatient to wait for decanting? So let's dive into the whole topic of decanting. It's not meant to be wine snobbery, although, you know, a lot of the rituals of wine do take us to that place. Stephen Biko just joined. Just arrived. I thought it was 6. It is 6. Where are you, Stephen? It's 6 o'clock here. It's cocktail hour here. What time zone are you on? I'm on Ottawa, Toronto, New York, whatever time. EDT, Eastern Daylight Time. So I'm glad you could join us, Stephen. Tell us what's in your glass. Back to decanting then. So basically, the whole thing is that wine evolves. That's why we cellar wine, or at least a lot of wines do. Not every wine. A lot of wines are meant to just be consumed as soon as, well, within 17 minutes. The average drive home time from the liquor store to your house. But for wines that can benefit from aging, we keep them in the cellar because they're components in wine that knit together, so to speak, chemically, and make the wine taste smoother, better, more complex. And that's what we're aiming for when we decant wine, but perhaps on a smaller, faster scale. Nicole has just said she's drinking the, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can pronounce this, Nicole, Montshoff 2014 Riesling, not decanting. We're going to get to that point, Nicole, about do you decant whites. So hold that thought, but not the wine. I mean, drink the wine. So anyway, so the whole thing is certain wines, where I'm talking about young reds, especially Cabernet, that have a lot of tannin. Tannin's that furry mouth feeling you get, like if you've ever eaten walnuts, and that dry, astringent, puckery sort of feeling that you get in your mouth. That's what we get when we are drinking a tannic wine. Often these are big reds, young reds, big reds, Bordeaux that's not mature yet, Cabernet Sauvignon. Italian reds that come from northern Italy, like the Piedmont region. We're talking Brunello and Barolo. What else? Of course, port. We'll get to port for a separate reason, though. So these are the wines we want to decant, because if we are impatient, like I am, I'm a thirsty hedonist, I don't always pay attention to vintage charts as to when I should drink these wines. We want to decant them. And that's not to say decanting is a substitution for cellaring. Cellaring is the mature way of bringing your wine together, letting it evolve naturally over time, etc. But let's just face it, it's Sunday night, you want that Brunello now, so what are you going to do, right? Well, I know what you're going to do. You're going to decant that sucker. So when wine oxidizes, so wine reacts to oxygen to air, and the tannins are molecules in the wine, and they, in reaction to the air, they will form longer and longer chains. I don't want to get too chemistry on you because I dropped that subject mid-high school, not going there. But here's what I know. They agglomerate or polymerize the little chemical compounds of tannin, they chain together. What that means for you, what's important, is that instead of feeling as furry as if you drank the wine right away after you opened it, versus waiting an hour or two, that wine is going to taste smoother. You got longer chains all forming together like a kick line on your mouth, instead of just one kick at the palate. So if you just joined us, by the way, because I know this is a live broadcast, tell us where you're from, what's in your glass tonight. We're talking about decanting wine. Should we? When should we? Which wines? All that kind of stuff. So I'd love to hear from you. I am watching the comments as they come in. We are really building an audience tonight quickly, so that is amazing. I love this. So, okay, so that's what we're doing on the chemical level for pure pleasure. We want to smooth out that wine because we just want it to have that whole experience of that luxurious, not quite satin velvet mouth texture that you might get with a completely mature wine, but something that approximates it and isn't so rough and like, mwah, 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 like, Deb! Hey, Nat. Hey, I love you. You call me Nats. I love that, Deb. And I'm so glad you tuned in. You are drinking a wonderful petite Milo or Milo, correct me on that, from Unsworth Winery on Salt Spring Island. That is so cool. I don't think I've even heard of this winery, Deb, so thank you for bringing it. West Coast, BC, Salt Spring Island. It's incredible, crisp, juicy white with pink grapefruit acidity, tropical fruit notes, and minerality. Deb knows her stuff. Zingy acidity, well balanced, keeps going, absolutely excellent. Tackles asparagus and hollandaise, artichoke, sound like a pro, a great match. Deb, it's a long flight, but I'll be there. Okay, and we are going to talk about decanting whites later soon. And hello, Anne from Halifax, who's given me a thumbs up like. Crystal, I love you. I love you too, Crystal. I love this. Isn't this a nice community? All cozy in our little decanters. Okay, so we're back to decanting. So that is why Diane Carter, thank you for the thumbs up, Diane. I see you too. I feel like that Romper Room show, you know, when she said, I see Mary and I see Joe and I see you too, Bob. Anyway, so we decant to smooth out the wine. That is the number one reason. And decanting is simply, it doesn't have to be all pageantry. It's pouring the wine from one vessel to another. Usually it's from your bottle to your decanter, like that. And that is it, simplified. If you are really stuck, like in Brazilian rainforest or something, you could double decant from glass to glass. So if all you've got is your Riedel glassware in the middle of the Brazilian rainforest, stay with me, you could do this. You can do that. It's exposing the wine to air, etc. But we're gonna pretend we're still in civilization here. So we do that, and we're smoothing out the wine. But there's a few other reasons why we decant wine. And another one, other than smoothing it out, is to remove sediment. So I've got a bunch of ports here. This one I keep flashing around is a late bottle vintage port by Graham's, great reputation, by the way. It's vintage dated, but it's made in a style that does not throw sediment. That's sediment, not sentiment. I have a lot of sentiment for this wine, but it doesn't have any sediment. What is sediment? It's the natural organic matter that precipitates, falls out of wine as it ages. So, wine's made from grapes, so there's grape skins and other particulate, not harmful. But it will fall out of a vintage port. Let me get you vintage port here. So, this is the difference. This also has a vintage date on it, but it's not late bottled vintage port. Important difference. This needs decanting, will have sediment, not to be afraid. This won't. The other kinds of ports basically don't need decanting either. So we could have one of my favorite styles, a tawny port, Burmester. That's beautiful, tastes like toffee, as opposed to the vintage port and the late vintage port are more like black plums, dark grapes, that kind of thing. And we have from Dow's, another great producer, a cojita, meaning single vineyard. This tastes like a tawny port, basically, if I'm really summarizing at a high level. So if you just joined us, please let me know where you're from, what's in your glass tonight. We're having fun. We're talking about decanting. We're going to take the stuffiness out of this whole process and let you know when you need to decant and why. So we've discussed that we want to smooth out the wines. Then we moved on to the second reason for decanting is removing the sediment, right? So Nicole, Natalie, what's your opinion on aerators? Very good, Nicole. So I think aerators can have a positive impact. I've tried many times. Thank you, Sam, for the like. I see you. Sam out in BC, who teaches wine courses, which is really cool. He's a great guy. Someday we will have a glass of wine together, Sam. So back to Nicole's question, opinion on aerators. I do think they can help. I'm not sure they provide the magic that they are marketed as having. I think basic decanting will do the job. Hi, Natalie. Oh, it's Marta. Am I saying your name right, Marta, from Toronto? Marta Belil, which is a very pretty name. Had to change computers, having Primitivo tonight. And Jackie from Montreal has just tuned in and has given us a like. Jackie, hello, dear. Sam, hi, Nat, made it. Just got in the door. Sam, catch your breath. So Marta, Primitivo, which is like Zinfandel from Italy, usually, I would like Marta's opinion. Do you need to decant Primitivo, Marta? Tell me about that in the comments here and I'll read them out to the group. Back to Nicole. See, I'm easily distracted, Nicole. This is a thing people have learned. I will just go off on different tangents. Aerators can help. I think basic decanting does the job. Even if you have just a basic water jug. I mean, a glass or a crystal, not plastic, but just, the act of pouring the wine into another vessel and exposing it to that air, siphoning off the sediment, really does the job. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to do a little more science on that, Nicole, and if you do, let us know, of a decanted wine versus an aerated wine. Elke Meyer, am I saying your name right? Elke. She is drinking a refreshing Creekside Estate winery, Sauvignon Blanc, from Niagara, but I cannot get the video to play, so I'll have to watch it tomorrow instead of live. Oh, too bad, Elke. I'm trying to figure that out. Oh, thank you, Sam, for sharing the video. So if you click share, guys, that little arrow that says share, you can tell your friends we're on live and they can join us. If you click like, the next time we go live, you'll get notified with the heads up. If you click sign up, I can send you my newsletter. Anyway, back to the thing. Marta, yes, I think any red wine can benefit from decanting. Nice segue, Marta. Am I saying your name correctly? So I agree. The only thing that I would propose to throw out to the group and to you, Marta, are really old red wines that could fall apart if exposed to too much oxygen, like a really antique or old mature Bordeaux that has aged well in the cellar, but it is at peak or maybe starting to decline. I'm also thinking about Pinot Noir, Gamay, light reds that are already so smooth, so supple, the tannins have already come together, or it's not a tannic wine to begin with, rather. I wonder if it benefits from that oxygen, because sometimes I find with Pinot Noir, my favorite go-to wine, the aromas are so delicate, so ethereal, so ephemeral, they can dissipate. Not that the wine doesn't have much aroma anymore, because those are very aromatic wines, but I wonder if decanting is benefiting them. And I throw that out for the group. The jury's not in for me yet. So, Marta, I'd like to hear from you on that. But definitely Primitivo, Zinfandel, they're fairly smooth wines. So, in that category, I would say they can be enjoyed if you're really impatient right out of the gate. But I do think, I agree with you, Marta, that they will open up, get richer, get better as we decant them. And I would even say with Primitivo, Zinfandel, those smooth reds, medium to full-bodied reds, probably on the lower side of the time of decanting, like less than an hour. Whereas when we're talking about young, tannic, fighting reds like Cabernet that are really, want to give you a punch on the palate, probably more to the 2-hour limit or 2-hour upper zone. And how can you tell when it's ready? It's like testing the meat with a meat thermometer, but it's going to be your palate. So you keep testing the wine over time to see if it has opened up, or you have with all the testing. That can happen too, and then you don't care so much. But let's say your guests are due in 3 hours and you've decanted the wine, and at the 2-hour mark you think, oh my gosh, this is just great. I don't want it to like go flat or get oxidized. Not that it would, but you can always put a little cloth over the decanter top. Okay, it'll slow that down. If your guests are here in 15 minutes and this thing is still a honkin' tannic red wine, do that double decanting of glass to glass and expedite it. Hi, Lori from Ottawa. How are you, my dear? What's in your glass tonight? Now, David Kerr says, to be honest, when I have a less expensive red, I use an aerator and it gives it a little help. That's a good tip. So, Nicole, David's chimed in with some good advice there, because some of those, we're not snobby about price, but, to be honest, the lower price wines can sometimes be a little bit rough around the edges. And so maybe an aerator helps, might help in that process. So we've got the purposes for decanting. We've got 1, to smooth out the wine, 2, to get rid of sediment. 3 would be to bring a wine up to room temperature, especially, of course, a red. We don't want it to get warm and flabby, but if you're in a restaurant or at home and you just brought up a wine from the cellar, pouring it into the decanter is really going to help to air it out, but also bring up the temperature a lot more quickly than if you just left it in the bottle. Lori is drinking a glass of rosé bubbly from Hinterland in Ontario. That is so fabulous. Now let me just jump there. Oh, David Kerr says that's awesome. Yes, and Lori just spent the week in Prince Edward County. Lucky Lori. Share out what else you drank there, Lori. And Bonnie is here from Nova Scotia. Hello, Bonnie. It's great for you to join us. So let's talk about bubbly, since you just brought that up, Lori. So among the wines that don't have to be decanted, a lot of people agree that white wines, especially crisp, zesty whites like your Sauvignon Blancs and your Riesling, and bubbly, sparkling wine, champagne, etc. I've got a really nice one that I'm not going to decant tonight, that Louis Roeder, so good. Don't need decanting. Now here's something contrary to that. When I interviewed John Roston Saul, to drop a name, and a mouthful of a name, the hubby of Adrienne Clarkson when she was Governor General, I interviewed him at the Governor General's house for a magazine, and he was taking care of the cellar. That wasn't his only job, but he's a bit of a wine guy. So he commented that he decants sparkling wine. He decants all wines because he thinks it brings out the aroma in every wine, including bubbles. I have to disagree, Mr. Ralston, though I get nervous disagreeing with a brainiac or Canadian public intellectual. But I want to preserve the freshness. I want to preserve the bubbles. I want to preserve the temperature of those wines when it comes to white, crisp whites, sparkling, and so on. The only point where I might try it is if I had a big, gorgeous, generous, oaky Chardonnay or something really huge, white wine. But still, I don't think I do it. But what do you guys think? Would you decant any type of white wine, a rosé, a bubbly? Would you put it in a decanter? I want to know. Lori says, yes, David Kerr, they make great sparkling wines. Yes, they do. Hinterland, she's got a bubbly in her glass. this evening. So nice. Feels like we're at the virtual kitchen table. So I should actually show you the decanting. Some of you are old pros at this, but let's, well, first let's talk about decanters. So I've been flashing this one around. This is not my favorite decanter. Why? Yes, it has lots of, if I poured the bottle in here, there's lots of airspace. That's what you need in a decanter versus this one is a little too tiny. It's too small. It's more like a brandy decanter that you might keep if you're watching Downton Abbey, you know. I don't like this one. This one has more air ratio, but try pouring this sucker. And I just find at the end, maybe because I'm impatient doing that, which I should not do, but I just find at the end it comes out and it's really hard to clean. It's hard to get in there. I know there are brushes and decanter brushes for cleaning, but I just don't like it. And I find it awkward to pour. Marta says, I've never decanted a white wine, but would be willing to try an oaky Chardonnay. Please do that, Marta. Report back, okay? Let us know if it works. Nicole says, I would not decant any sparkling wines. We are together in that. Here's another decanter, which needs to be cleaned. I don't like metal on decanters. I've had enough wine in restaurants where they bring out either something like this or one of those metal sieves, you know, because they think they've got the sieve and they're decanting it into the decanter. I always tell them don't do that. I don't know what's happening because, again, I dropped chemistry in grade 10. I don't know if it's ionizing the wine or doing something freaky to it or if it's just some sort of metallic thing going on, but I don't like the way it changes the wine. So I always avoid this and the little metal sieves. I don't do it. You know, with port and everything else, well, I'll show you. Now I'm going to show you my favorite decanter. So, this is Riedel. This is not sponsored by Riedel, who's Facebook Live, but why I like this, it's called the Duck Decanter. And you can see the amount of space this baby has, but even more importantly, it's easy to clean. And when I hold it, it's so easy to pour. It's like, you know those knives you get from, is it Langwheel or whatever, and you balance them on a finger? This has that kind of easy balance for pouring. I like to pour a lot. So I'm going to show you decanting right now of the wine I'm going to have for dinner because I need to get that sucker decanted. So I'm going to, this is beautiful wine. I'll post all the wines I've mentioned tonight in the links below, but this is a Carpignetto 2009. I think 2013 came out. I like the 2009-2010 better. But anyway, it is a big Italian wine. I could drink it straight out of the bottle, have done that, but it's just so much better when it's decanted. Okay, so basically here's decanting. So I'm going to do this in midair, like a high rope wire act or something. But so you've got your decanter in your bottle. Now, what you could have is a flashlight or a candle pointing to the neck. I'm not going to tip this all the way. But what you want to know is there that little sediment coming up the bottle? You'll see just at the end. So first of all, if your bottle has a lot of sediment, port or mature red wine, you want it standing for maybe a day, if you can think ahead that way, so that all the sediment is going to settle in the bottom. We don't want it all mixed. So if you bring up your wine from the cellar and like whatever, shaking it around, all that stuff's going to be mixed through the wine. So it's great if we can store it upright. Then what we're going to do is, if this were on a counter, I prefer a flashlight or just to be under a bright light through the neck. I want the light through the neck, either coming up this way or shining down that way, because I want to see near the end of this as that sort of black cloud of sediment, not sponge. I gotta think of more appetizing. We don't drink it. We put it on plants and fertilize the plants, but we want to stop pouring just as that reaches the neck of the bottle. So here we go. Mid-air, not the ideal. You're usually grounded on a counter, but here we go. Let's see, I hope you guys can see this. So I'm going slowly because I want that wine to get the benefit of the air as it comes out of the bottle. I'm sure someone will correct my technique here, but my arms are killing me, just so you know. Now, if I had a light, or I'm holding it up for the camera, I would be holding it more at waist level or on the counter, And I'd be watching to see when that sediment's coming up. Now, not quite yet. I'd probably go slower too, but my arms are killing me. And as I'm getting to the end here, that's when I'm watching the neck of the bottle. So let's say I started to see that cloud of sediment. I would just do this, okay? And then I'd leave this standing a little bit longer. It will collect in the bottom and you can get that little extra bit out. But you don't want that sediment. It tastes bitter. It really ichifies the wine. You don't want that in your wine, okay? So you can get that last skillet out after. So now we've got this. Look at that nice ratio of air to wine, which will gradually, quickly decrease. So if I'm in a hurry, not in a hurry, but what I can also do is after I've decanted it, then I can then pour it into my glass or other glasses, because look, there's more air exposure happening again. Okay, so kind of cool. So that's basically it. So we're basically exposing the bottle to wine. Lynn asks if ichify is a technical term. Yes, it is, Lynn. And if you'd taken some wine course, no, I'm kidding. The beauty of live video. Just say whatever comes to your mind. If you don't have the word, just make it up. Lori says, if you're decanting a white wine, would you leave it at room temperature or could you decant it and put it in the fridge? Yeah, Lori, good question. I would keep white wine chilled to the temperature you like it. Now we know we always or often over chill whites. So I keep it at the temperature you enjoy it. If you have a fridge cold oaky Chardonnay, all you're going to taste is the oak and the alcohol. See, it depends on the white, but not to get too special and precious about this, but I would keep the white wine chilled, and then yes, after I decanted it, put in the fridge, you can take it out, you can put it back in, sort of monitoring the temperature so that you can still smell it. It's not all numbed out on the aromas. Marta says, when there is sediment, I would use a filter to keep the sediment out of the decanter. Yeah, you know, Marta, I think if I were decanting a really old vintage port, like, which one is it? It's over here. Look at this sucker. 1980 Wars vintage port. I'll bet you that's a pretty crusty fellow who has a lot of sediment. I might consider that, especially if there was like chunks and stuff. All of this sediment, by the way, gets natural organic matter. It's not going to hurt you. So I might do it that way. But my preference personally, Marta, is to stop pouring once I see the snaking sediment up to the neck, and then just hold. And then leave that bottle. You can see there's just a little bit left here. I would leave it till we're finished the wine in the decanter. Then I would go back there and try to get the last bit out. And again, stop just as the sediment is coming up to the neck. My personal preference, it just over time and in restaurants, I just found something strange was happening with the metallic, either the sieve or any metal touching it. It's probably just me. So anyway, that is about it. Let me talk to you about my favorite decanters, waiting a couple of hours, which decanters are best. Try to think if there's anything else that we want to cover when it comes to decanting. Does anyone have any questions? I think we've done a good job in covering this topic, and I've really enjoyed your questions. We're almost at the 30-minute mark, so I'm sure, well, you're not getting thirsty. Hopefully you've been enjoying some wine as we're doing this. But does anyone have any questions? I'll just throw it out there while I have a little sip here of recently decanted wine. I want to show you a few bottles before I do close this up. So from BC, recently got Platinum Meritage when it's in North America. So that's a Bordeaux blend. Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Merlot, and their Merlot, standalone Merlot. So, thank you, Bonnie. Lots of great information. Thank you. So I opened these two tonight. This one was really tight. Like it gave me that free mouth walnut feeling. And this Merlot was smooth. This was liquid satin. Two very different wines. Same producer, same year. Merlot tends to be smoother. Meritage has that two Cabernet component, so it's going to be a lot rougher. Then I opened up this guy, and it's beautiful wine, Cabernet Sauvignon from Nuremberg in South Africa, Manor House Cabernet, but turns out it was pretty darn smooth. New World Cabernets can be like that sometimes. Another one I tried, again I'll post all these links, a Bordeaux, traditional Bordeaux blend that the Meritage is modeled after, so it leads with Cabernet Sauvignon. Someone gave me this wine from the Opimian Society. Very good, but look here, it's 2006, spectacular vintage, and guess what? If I was pouring this in 2012, I would have needed to decant it. When I poured it tonight, it's drinking right now because the cellar has done the work that the decanting does not need to. A Barolo or a Brunello, this is Brunello, Barolo, Northern Italy, usually exceptionally tannic. These wines usually don't start drinking well till 10 years out from their vintage date, and usually decanting will help. I mentioned light reds. Here's a Gamay from Cave Spring. Gamay, the grape of Beaujolais, Pinot Noir. I'm really not sure that they benefit much. So I think that's it, guys. Thank you. I'm glad you found that to be helpful, Marta and Bonnie, and everyone else has joined us. It's been great, and I hope that what's in your glass is smooth and drinking well. We'll be back again next Sunday, so please do press like, share, sign up, follow, whatever, and you'll know when we go live. And I would love your suggestions right here below for next week's topic, because I am totally open to suggestions. And if you're watching the replay, if you joined us late or you missed this all together on the live broadcast, there's a replay and it goes on forever. So you can watch this video anytime. It's just more fun when we're live and I can see your comments and answer them. So if you're watching the replay, also ask questions or make comments, because I'm going to dive in here and answer questions after the fact. I'm going to check in every day this week to see if anybody else is commenting, that sort of thing. Because I think we can create a little archive here of topics that can be useful going forward, not just, have this shelf life of a week or something. Anyway, guys, it's been fun. I really appreciate you taking your time on your Sunday night to join me. I love this. I love the interactivity, and I really appreciate you being here and your comments. So you take care. Enjoy your Sunday dinner. I guess this is the Sunday Sipper Club closing out for now. So let me just go back here, and I will talk to you next week.